Just ahead on American Black Journal, a national program aims to change the perception of black men in America, one story at a time. Plus details on a downtown Detroit festival that's going to showcase the creative talents of more than 500 young people. Stay right there. American Black Journal starts now.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Earlier this year, the Ford Motor Company launched a national program designed to recognize and honor the accomplishments of black men in America. The initiative is called Men of Courage, and its goal is to strengthen communities and create positive social change. The program brings together African American men with inspirational stories and ideas on how to improve the perception of black men in society.
Throughout my whole life, I've been judged based how I look and where I'm from.
I had a mother that was on drugs and a father that was absent. I ended up going through a number of foster homes.
So no matter what I do, I'm just gonna end up dead or in jail.
I've been blind in my left eye.
None of the men wanted to coach our teams.
I was being kicked out for the same reason. No one tried to reach me.
Until one day I was in the store minding my own business, and this airline pilot walks up to me and says, "Hey son, have you ever thought about becoming a pilot?" My response to him was, "I don't think I'm smart enough to fly an airplane." Think about that.
One man could change the world. That one man could change the world.
Storytelling is where it all began, but we have given up so much of who we are because we've allowed other people to tell our stories.
There's a big disconnect between who I know we are as African American men and who everyone else says we are.
Even though we don't all necessarily know each other, we do know each other because we have these shared experiences.
Now it's about moving forward and where we want the narrative of black men, African American men to go.
We can do this.
Challenges are inevitable. Being defeated is optional.
According to the status quo, I'm not supposed to be standing here. And I think all of us should buck the system and say, we are supposed to be here.
He looks like the angry black guy that Sean was talking about earlier today, right? But Barrington was actually the youngest man to ever fly the world at the age of 23.
We want people, we need people to understand that we are great. That's part of our narrative. We know that. Everyone doesn't know that.
This is something that's more important than everything. It's how we portray it and how we can progress and how we can learn from each other.
We can't just sit there and not speak up for our community and what we believe in. We can be CEOs, and we've done it for a number of years. So that's the real story right now that's not being told.
We have to take advantage of technology, otherwise we're just going to be spinning our wheels.
Mark Zuckerberg has made more money than every NBA player combined. That is our platform. That is what we can own.
One man could change the world. That one man could change the world.
One man can change the world. Here to tell us more about Men of Courage is Sean Wilson from the Ford Motor Company Fund. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it.
So if you look at that video we just showed there, the thing that strikes me is that spectacular diversity among the black men you have involved in that in the program, and that reflects the spectacular diversity of black men around America. I mean, I think a lot of times when we talk about black men and black males and black male issues, what comes up in people's mind is a very narrow prism.
Absolutely.
You're doing a great job of showing there's a lot broader than that.
That's right. That's right. And you know, these kind of initiatives go back a long time from a standpoint of Ford Motor Company fund support. So whether it's a $5 a day wage, or most recently Freedom Sisters, where we highlighted you know, little known women of the civil rights movement, right? These kind of issues and programs are important because we have to stay connected as Ford. We have to stay connected and plugged into what are the most important issues in the community. And so obviously this is a very important and growing issue. And how we curated that room, to your point, was to really look for diversity. And it started with two people, Big Sean and Mayor Bing, Dave Bing,
so
right? I mean, you can't get
really
right,
other
that's
opposite
right.
ends of that.
That's right, that's right. But you know, we really seen them as intergenerational bookends who could then draw each of their center of influences to the room. So we had politicians, lawyers. We had gentlemen who had just got out of prison a year ago. You saw Shaka Senghor in there, who's an amazing person. But we took them through really a three-step approach of one, sharing their story. And that's the other powerful thing you probably noticed about that video, is that it was strong in storytelling, right?
Narrative.
That absolutely. And then we really moved into creating a vision. So, we didn't want this to be a situation where people get in a room and complain, right? We wanted this to be about action. We wanted it to be positive. We wanted to really highlight African-American men who as we know they are, right? So we had them create a vision, and you saw them actually holding up the vision board. I got to be honest, that part, we weren't sure that was going to go.
Was it going to work?
Could you actually get a bunch of men, regardless of black or white or whatever, but could you get a bunch of men to cut out magazines and newspapers? But it worked. That's right. They kept going, 5 more minutes. So they created a vision board, right, to say this is what the true narrative of African-American men should be. And then the final piece was we basically asset mapped and said, now what are you going to do? Because from a Ford standpoint, we're merely the convener. We're merely the facilitator. But it's really about empowering the community and African-American men to own that narrative and advance that narrative, and we support them any way we can.
Once you sort of own that narrative, it's a question of getting it to the right people. And that's the tough problem we have. There are so many kids, young men, old men, even in the city of Detroit and other cities like it, who just are not still seeing that, that it's possible, that it's hard, that people are going to push you back and knock you down, but you can persevere.
Look, I think the most powerful thing about this initiative is that, it's really about helping advance a narrative to where everyone sees African-American men as an asset to this country and the contributions that we've made. And I think that comes out very strongly in the program. But the thing that I noticed when we did the first one in Detroit and then we expanded to Baltimore and Atlanta is that there's such a need for African-American men to own their narrative and to understand and to rebuke the negative stereotypes that have existed. So I'll give you a quick example. The Center for Disease Control did a study and launched it, or came out with it last year as a 6-year study. They wanted to measure the level of engagement between men and their children, and found out that black men were the most engaged of any race.
Totally counter-narrative.
Totally
from
counter-narrative.
what you see in media or, or other places.
So we have to take that true narrative and push it out and own it and embrace it and continue to really strive as fathers, as husbands, as contributors to this society.
Who do you think is getting more out of this? The storytellers? Because, I mean, you could see in that video that there's this real satisfaction, I think, coming over them as they're able to tell this story in a group that looks like them with people who need to hear that story. Are they getting as much out of it as the kids or the people that you're trying to reach?
It's hard to judge, right? It's really hard to judge. One of the other initiatives that we did along with this was in partnership with the Charles H. Wright Museum, and this year's theme of the Ford Freedom Awards was Men of Courage. And we really celebrated African-American men.
Dave Bing was one
of the honorees. Usher came back and participated, which was great. And the most amazing thing is it was a very diverse audience. And I had so many people send me emails who were not African American, saying that it was a powerful night, right? And so I think everyone gets something out of it because it's amazing. And here's the theory of change. By using storytelling to tell the story of African American men, you create empathy. When you create empathy in people's minds, then it changes the way they think about African American men, which then changes how they act towards African American men, right? And it's something that I think, especially in this day and age, that we can all use more of is empathy, right?
That point of action, changing the way people behave. I mean, that's not more important now. It has never been more important in history than it is right now.
That's
when
right.
you see the reactions that people have to black men, whether they're on a street corner in Baton Rouge or, frankly, in the White House.
That's right. That's right.
There's this sort of instinctive pushback.
Well, and that's really I think that's part of the point is once you can, once you have that empathy and you can see yourself in that person, it doesn't matter if you're a 30 or 40-year-old, Caucasian housewife. If you can relate to a black father sharing a moment with his child, you just created that empathy, right? Because it's about parenting at that point. And I think we have more in common than we have different. This isn't about choosing sides, right? This is really about unifying more than anything and saying we have more in common than we do.
But you need to see what we have.
That's right. And that's why I think it's important for companies like Ford, to create that platform to be able to do this and not be scared to venture into tough subjects, because at the end of the day, we value the African American community and how they, support us through purchasing vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to value them and say to them, hey, we hear you, and we're going to find a unique and uplifting way to tackle this issue with you.
All right, Sean Wilson, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Coming up next, a massive display of talented young Detroiters. But first, here's a look at some important moments in Detroit's Black history.
I'm Ken Coleman with a look back at African American life in Detroit. This week in 1966, a civil disturbance took place on Kercheval Street after a dispute between police and area residents. In 1971, church leader Prophet Jones died of a heart attack. And in 1977, Float On by the Floaters was the #1 song on the soul chart. These are significant events this week in Detroit's Black history, taken from the book On This Day, African American Life in Detroit.
Detroit's largest youth arts festival is taking over downtown Detroit this year. More than 500 young people will showcase their talents at the Art of Resilience Starr Summer Youth Festival on Saturday, August 13th. For the first time, the event is at Campus Martius Park and Cadillac Square. There's going to be performances in music, dance, theater, and spoken word. Plus, short films and visual art are going to be on exhibit. One of the youth groups came by our studios to give us a preview. Here are members of the Detroit Windsor Dance Academy. Art of Resilience Festival is presented by Starr Commonwealth, a social services agency that's committed to serving the needs of children and families. And joining me now is the organization's president and CEO, Elizabeth Carey, along with festival director John Hollingsworth and Deborah White-Hunt, artistic director of the Detroit Windsor Dance Academy. Welcome all of you to American Black Journal.
Thank you.
Yeah. John, let me start with you. This is a big deal festival, third year of the festival, is that right?
That's right, yeah. We launched the festival 2 years ago, not knowing how the community would respond, but we were really pleased that what we were trying to do was create an event that was dedicated to showcasing the talents of young people in Detroit. And over the last couple of years, the event's grown. We've seen dozens and dozens of groups come out and perform dance and music and theater and exhibit visual arts. And so this year we're looking forward to the biggest ever. We're looking forward to seeing 50 or 60 youth organizations.
Yeah, 500 young people.
That's right, 500 individual young artists from about 50 different groups. And really what you'll see is an incredible array of talent, much like we've just seen. So it's a really fantastic event. It's a family-friendly event in Campus Marshes and Cadillac Square.
Yeah, yeah. And the Detroit Windsor Dance Company, tell me about the company. I think that's sort of a really cool concept. International dance company right across our river here. That's a great idea.
We're here in Detroit, but we celebrate the fact that we're an international sister city, and very few people can say that, because we're right here in Detroit.
It's very easy to get back and forth.
Yeah. Back and forth. This is our 33rd season we're going into. We've serviced tens of thousands of young people throughout the entire community, and our dancers are all over the world. We have the 4th generation of dancers here, and of students here, and the teachers that are at our studio have also been raised at Detroit Windsor Dance Academy, have gone out into the world to pursue their dance careers, their dance degrees, and they've come back to give back to the children.
Talk about some of the places people might have seen the dance company over the years.
Well, we've danced in Australia, we've danced in New York, we've danced in Cape Town, South Africa, but in every stage in Detroit, we have been there. Our concerts have been at the Music Hall for the last probably 15, 20 years. The Opera House, we've danced there, at the Fox Theater, at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. We just completed our summer camp. And then the Art of Resilience, of course, we're in the area where we were in the last 2 years was where Detroit Windsor first started, down in Harmony Park area, and this year, Campus Marshes. Everywhere. We just love to dance. We've done outside, inside.
And I would imagine that what she's talking about there, that sort of intergenerational development of young people in this community, is what Starr Commonwealth is attracted to here.
Absolutely. We are so pleased and feel really moved by not only the performance we just saw, but by 100 years of watching young people find their strengths, their mastery, their skill, and to use that to flourish in life. So we're thrilled that after 103 years of being in Michigan and serving the kids from Detroit all the way across Michigan, to be able to really take the time to highlight the skills and the attributes and really the incredible talent of the young people of Detroit. For us, this is all about resilience. So this is all about building our own resilience, our community's resilience, and then highlighting the resilience of the young people right here in Detroit.
Talk about some of the work that Starr Commonwealth does here in Metro Detroit.
We have been serving young people from Detroit since 1913, and that started with, in particular, kids that were thrown away by society and really were considered to be the street kids or the disposable kids. And 100 years ago, our founder responded to that by saying, there's greatness in every single one of these kids, and we're going to help them find their path. So today, we do that through in-home services for kids who found themselves sometimes in trouble in the juvenile justice system, as well as we have foster care services. We have in-home autism support services. We also serve children and families and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then we also run a charter school, Starr Detroit Academy, a public enrollment kindergarten through 8th grade public school. And so for us, it's a thrill to be able
Yeah.
to continue to serve the people of Detroit.
But talk about some of the things that you see. I mean, we hear a lot about the trouble that the city and the suburbs are now having with poverty. That visits differently on young people than it does on adults.
It absolutely does. And just from a neuroscience perspective, so the social service side of us would talk about the impacts of poverty, in particular on opportunity, to really find your path, to find a way to succeed in life with all the barriers that poverty sets for you. But now we also have the physical science part of that, where we really understand the impacts of poverty, not just poverty by itself, but poverty along with really the lack of opportunity and the really intense, constant trauma that it impacts on young people.
Right. The isolation is the thing also that I'm starting to notice with more and more impoverished people, especially in Detroit. Just the inability to even get to a place that's different or better. That seems to, that makes things worse.
It makes it even harder. And for our young people, one of the challenges we have, and then the opportunity that we have, is to expose our young people to all that can be available to them, to help them make it through educationally, to help them see all the places where they can flourish. The arts and the expression of creative arts is a really important part of that. For some of our kids, that's where their mastery lies, and we need to get them the opportunities to really find that.
Yeah. What do you see with young people at the dance company these days in terms of their just level of hope or optimism about how their lives might turn out?
Well, we really, really focus on our children, our students, our youth in terms of what dance is going to do in their lives. And no matter what they do, they'll be dancing in their life, whether they're in the
whether you do it
corporate
professionally
America.
or not.
Exactly. So we're planting seeds of hope in terms of every day when they walk through that door, they will find a solution to something. And they will take a dance class, they will learn discipline, they'll learn rhythm, not just rhythm in music, but rhythm in life, how to get along with people, how to follow instructions, how to get from point A to B. And then they learn how if you work really hard in September, that seed that was planted is going to blossom in June at that final concert, and they will realize that potential that's in them, and it's constantly growing, and it will never reach the potential of its greatness until they make it. Make it do that. That's stumbled.
The festival's free to the public?
It's free.
Is that right?
It's free for youth groups to participate, free for people to attend. And so, we encourage the community to come out and give the young people the big audience they deserve.
Right,
you know, they really,
right.
It's really incredible, the talent that's on display. You know, over the last few years, we've been just amazed at what's come forward. And so, it's a diverse group of people, a diverse group of organizations. And so, and in addition to the actual performances that people see, we have a youth artist market, so we have the opportunity for young people to sell their creations.
Right. Oh. Wow.
We have family-friendly activities for people to stay and have a good time in the park as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, it all sounds like a great event. August 13th.
August 13th, 11 till 8 p.m. all day.
And I think we're at 240.
There you go. That's important. In-campus marches,
right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for being here, and good luck with the festival.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, that's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org, and you can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation,
a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.